I think I've pinpointed something specifically about focus and astral projection that triggers a vibrational state, and what specifically it is that happens in the eyes, in the face, and that triggers the vibrational state.
Okay, I'm going to talk about the lines of force technique. I'm going to mention that I've started doing it during meditation. When it comes to inducing the vibrational state, I do the lines of force technique right as I'm falling asleep and I doze off for a little bit and come to, or right as I'm waking up out of sleep, either from a nap or from a full night's sleep. So it's when I'm coming up out of sleep or when I'm falling asleep and I doze off a little bit and come to. So that's when it occurs. I do talk about how I've started doing it in meditation. It's something that I've been meditating on, something I've been doing in meditation as well. But in terms of inducing the vibrational state, my experience so far has just been with inducing vibrational state coming up out of sleep.
So lines of force technique and, focusing. I've been kind of playing with the lines of force technique during meditation because I do the lines of force technique when I'm attempting to astral project. It has worked. I think it induces the vibrational state. And so during meditation recently, I started, deciding to use the lines of force technique during meditation. And, so I'm going to describe briefly lines of force. I basically all I do, it's the only real visualization that I do to induce it. It's I focus here, like I have two laser lights, like laser beams from right here, the sides of my face, and they shoot out about 6 feet in front of me, but they meet. Like at 6 feet, they'll meet. So it's like a like kind of like a triangle-ish type situation. And then from here, I'll bring the lines back to my ears and, just whatever. And then I'll pull outward. I'll visualize lines pulling outward. So there's these lines that are 6 feet, about 6 feet in front of me, that are meeting, and I'm just imagining these lines. And then I imagine, for some reason from here, usually, sometimes I'll bring the lines back, but I'm now going to keep the lines here, and I pull outward. So what happens is this triangle forms like that, like out and then back in, and that's what I do. And the vibrational state, it'll induce the vibrational state. And so okay, so I'm like, okay, lines of force. So I started doing it during meditation and just kind of playing with it a little bit. Then I decided I'm going to reread one of Sergio Magaña's books. I came across some of his quotes from a book of his that I read already, and I decided that I'm going to reread it. And I've been reviewing and thinking about previous information that I'd read and some practices that I tried. Okay, so I'm going to go through and just kind of paraphrase some of the quotes. I'll put the link in the description below. And I'm going to talk about them and how this plays into it and how it is that I think I've pinpointed something specifically about focus and astral projection that triggers a vibrational state. And it's something that was known in indigenous times. Like this is one, I already knew that they would astral project. It's very clear that they were lucid dreamers, astral projectors. Like that is like a big part of their spirituality was. So, and their descriptions, that's what I feel they were describing is this certain thing. And I'm going to talk about it right now. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how they describe it and the practices, and then how that is similar to the lines of force technique, and what specifically it is that happens in the eyes, in the face, and that triggers the vibrational state. So what they say is, and they have practices that where they use a bowl of water, and where they use an obsidian mirror, which is a volcanic glass. It's a black, shiny mirror made out of obsidian. And they would use it, that's their reflection. Okay, so the ideas of the reflection and like us and who we are and how we identify, like what we identify to be us. So I'm going to go and look for the quote really quick because that's an important point. And I know right now it's kind of all over the place, but it's going to come together. Okay, so they say things like, times of the dark sun, it's a time where one turns inward, right? and the perceptions turn inward, and so we need light to see in the darkness, and when we close our eyes we can see our dreams, right? And he says it's a time of conquest, and it's self-conquest, the sun of the sleeping world, and turning inward and having a light within and exploring inward, right? Okay, and then and again, there are these practices where they look into these obsidian mirrors and they look into bowls of water at their reflection, and they have a perspective on the reflection. So I'm going to try to paraphrase. We're like, what do we consider to be reality? Like, what's reality when we're here awake? We base our perception of reality on things that we don't really know, that there's an illusion even of ourselves. Like, we can see our hands, we can see other parts of our bodies. It says and we can't see our own face, right? We have to see a reflection of our face when we in order to see our face. Like, if there's no mirror or anything, like, we can look at our hands and stuff, but we can't look at our face. We must see it on a reflective surface. However, when we look in the mirror, it's an inverse image. So when we look in the mirror, our right side of our face is on the left and the left side of our face is on the right. So it's this switch. So we're looking at ourselves, but we're actually looking at an inverse image of ourselves, right? And like, we're looking into our own eyes off of the reflection. We're looking into our eyes, but it's inverse. So we're actually perceiving ourselves in the wrong way from that point. He says from that point on. And we base our lives a lot of times, on what others say about us, and then he says, people don't even know themselves, let alone us. And amazingly enough, this is what we think of as reality. But these are just perceptions of inverse reflections. A lot of it is about, in terms of like shattering the illusion, right? Shattering the illusion, shattering reality, making it disappear, going within, right? So there's that's there. Okay. Another thing that they used to do, I'm going to bring up the mirror again. They would look at themselves. This one exercise is to look in the mirror or look in a bowl of water, and you see your reflection. And then what they would do is they would bring their eyes out of focus by bringing them together. And another technique is bringing them out of focus by feeling like you're pushing your this eye out and this eye out. And it's just kind of a feeling. Like, my eyes, I don't think, are going out when I do that. Like, I'm doing it right now. But what happens is that it blurs focus, right? It blurs focus. And then what will happen is the image in the mirror will disappear. So you hold this state of focus. It's really holding a state of focus, either inward and you or outward. And you have your reflection in front of you, and then you hold this focus, and what'll happen is just fuzz out, right? So what'll happen is something about those points of focus that cause our illusion, right? Our illusion of reality, our perception of reality to disappear, right? Okay, so going back to astral projection, because I know the astral projected, they were lucid dreamers and astral projection. Going back to that, in the lines of force technique, so the lines of force technique today, not fully making the connections, but just kind of thinking about, the feelings of when I do the lines of force. So when I do the lines of force technique, my eyes are closed and I'm focusing on the lines going, and they go to a point. So what happens is my eyes don't cross. My eyes are closed. They're not crossing. It's not that, because like if you cross your eyes, that's a different feeling. That's like a very eyeball, like moving feeling. It's not that one. It's just bringing the focus. It almost feels like you're crossing your eyes. It almost feels like it, but you're not. You're just bringing your focus in with the eyes, and it has a certain feeling. I can do it with my eyes open, like I'll do it right now. Actually, it's a little bit different with my eyes open. It doesn't feel as intense as when my eyes are closed. It's more intense right here. And then the other one, you can do the same thing outward, where it feels like you're pushing your eyes outward, right? Your eyes outward, your eyeball, like the iris, right? And the pupil. And it feels like they're going out. And what happens is there's this energy, these focal points that will develop right here. So they'll develop here, and then if you go outward, they'll develop here, right? And doing that, that's lines of force, right? Focusing out like this, and that develops right here. And then once that's established, I switch and I focus on lines from here going outward. And the focus switches, and there's this energy feeling here. It almost feels like the eyes have moved outward, even though they haven't. But it's this switch of focus that happens here. And then the vibrational state happens. It induces the vibrational state. So then what happens is I'm closing my eyes, I'm going inward, I'm doing that focus, like it's the indigenous method of the bowl of water, right? Or the obsidian mirror. And there's this focus that happens here, and then there's this focus that happens here, and then the vibrational state happens. And what happens? The illusion goes away because it's a vibrational state kicks in, and then there's astral projection, and you end up in another place. This place goes away. Just like the reflection in the mirror disappears, right? It's this whole thing where you focus, the reflection in your mirror disappears, and then you're able to have visions, right? So that disappears, and then there are visions. So that's what happens with the lines of force technique. That's basically the lines of force technique, is the indigenous obsidian mirror and bowl of water practices. So that energy, and so that is really specific. So today, when I was waking up and going to sleep and turning off the alarm and doing all that stuff from a nap, one of those times I caught myself, I go, oh, wait a minute, let me do that feeling here. Let me do the lines of force technique. But I had already thought about, wait a minute, it's about a feeling. It's not just like imagining the point out in front of me. Like the reason why I'm doing that is to produce this feeling that happens here when I close my eyes and I feels like I'm bringing them together. Vibrational state. And then of course the alarm, got me out of it. But the alarm on my phone that was going off got me out of it. But this place disappears and I end up somewhere else. And it looks like a lucid dream, kind of. This other reality, this other place where one exists and one leaves the body and goes there. Their body's still, in the bed, and then you don't feel a vibrational state anymore, but you're out and it feels like you, and you're out there and you're doing stuff. So there's a connection. Like, I'm so excited about this because the lines of force, learning the lines of force technique was separate from these teachings. Like that was something my brother mentioned, and he didn't get it from, I don't know where the lines of force technique originates from. I got it from a book that has a lot of different techniques in it, but I don't know maybe like where it originated. But anyway, that visualization produces the same thing that the obsidian mirror and bowl of water practices produce. And what they say is that the image in the mirror, right, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you can look at your hands, your arms and stuff, right, in a real person. But when it's time to look at your face, right, like you're actually looking at an inverse reflection. It's an illusion. It's not even really you. And then a lot of people will start their identity and who they are starts being built by exterior things, what people say about them and how what's being, whatever programmed in them. And that will build this identity, right? People start thinking that that's them. But that's an illusion. And so those practices are for a person to turn inward. And they say that reflection in the mirror disappears. And that's all connected to lucid dreaming and astral projection. Like, that's all part of what they did and what they were doing. Because, little details like that, I feel like they make a difference. Because, you can think, because that's what I was thinking, like, for the past couple of days, like, wait, so do I just imagine myself, like, going outward and standing 6 feet in front of me? Am I actually thinking about the space in front of me and the lines, But what all that is, at least from what I feel right now, is that it's simply a visualization to get a person to produce a focal point. This point right here on this side of the eye, this side of the eye, and it's this energy right here. And then the outward one, right? The lines outward, that's the same thing as the exercise with the bowl of mirror and the obsidian mirror of feeling like you're pushing outward with your eyes. And it's just to produce focal points here, and here. It's harder to feel with eyes open. What I'm going to do next time is I'm going to do what I did this time, is I'm basically going to go, okay, my face is right here. My eyes are right there on my face. Let me get this energy feeling, and let me get this energy feeling right here. And Lines of Force technique is good because it does that, in the indigenous lineage that way, and to see that it was like, because I remember when I was doing the Lines of Force technique, like what drew me to it was that it reminded me of the pyramids of Mexico. That is why I was like, this makes sense for some reason. And I'm not saying, like, there are many other techniques that work for different people. And if they work, they work. And that's awesome. That's great. I was thinking, like, some people imagine like a rope in front of them. I don't know if that imagining that is making them produce that, or if it's something else. Maybe there's some other way to induce a vibration, other ways to induce a vibrational state. But I know the one that works for me is the Lines of Force, and that it's just so amazing. That, and then also meditation. With meditation, when I meditate, on top of obviously the body falling asleep and the mind being awake and that whole thing, existing that way and practicing, it's really a practice meditation of doing that. But also sometimes the focal point will become like that. It'll have this sort of, it's this focus that will develop. So that's what I think it is. I think that's the detail. So that's amazing to me, that connection, that information came together like that. It's so amazing. It's just so amazing to, and that was actually what I was thinking about right now. I was like, oh, let me, put a shirt on or whatever, like, let me do something so I can record it and talk about it, the time at which it's all coming together. So I hope that helps someone, it's a focus. And then you just hold that focus, like in the vibrational state, I found that I was holding that focus. It's a focus, and during the vibrational state, and yeah, and I guess it isn't my eyeballs moving. Yeah, because it's not my eyes moving, it's something else. It's something else, but you can feel it. It's like, and then out here, and you can feel this, like, it feels like if you try to push your eyes outward, it will produce a very similar feeling. It's just so amazing. They were saying, like, your illusion will go away. This whole illusion will go away. And yes, it does. The vibrational state, this place, you go away, you go to another place. Whether it's another dimension, like how to describe that astral plane or astral planes, it's another place. That's exactly what they're saying. Which I knew they already knew. I mean, obviously, but it's just so neat how clearly it's taught and how clearly it's there. So you want to astral project, like, I hope you astral project, like, if you want to do it, do it. If you want to experience it, I hope you experience it. It's like, it's not just the thrill of it. It's not just the thrill of it and the change that happens. It's like, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of different layers of things that comes with realizing that that's real. And then realizing that you can work from those places, you can actually go there and do things and then come back, and doing that is actually going to have an effect on this world. That's amazing. Like building reality, like this reality is an illusion. And that's the other thing is indigenous Mexicans believe that everything we live, so everything that goes on, we've dreamt before. Now, we may not remember everything we've dreamt. They believed it was very important to remember what you dream and to be connected to that other place, because that other place is many times more powerful than this place. Yeah, so wow, that's so amazing. So I'm going to let this develop. I'm going to go in and I'm going to read that book again. I'll put the link in the description of the quotes. And then at the bottom of the quotes, it says the name of the book. Oh, it says it in Spanish. The quotes are in English. It's Toltec Secret is the name of the book in English as the author there. So if anyone's interested and wants to look at that, they do have like exercises and they have like different things. There's also things about directions and looking in certain ways out of your eyes. Like if you look at someone or you look in a certain way out of your left eye, like there's certain energies. Like you can look at somebody or look at something, right? But you can look at it just whatever regular, but then you can actually look at something with both eyes, but look a little bit more through the left eye, like the energy. And so there's different ways to work with that, and like spiritual work and stuff. It's really interesting. So that's actually why, well, it's one of the reasons why I want to reread the book, but I felt like I read it and then, processed a little bit of it. And then now I feel like I need to go back and read it again. I feel like I'm probably going to read it. I'm probably going to need to read it multiple times. There's a lot of information in there, and it takes time to go in and process stuff and, do practices and live and apply things and then, revisit and get more, that I didn't get the first time, that I didn't figure out or realize or recognize the first time. So I hope it's helpful.